need to wrap text around a shape but you can't figure out how to do it in Adobe Illustrator? I'll walk you through the simple steps so you can create layouts like this, and you'll gain some pro tips and tricks along the way. As a special bonus, you'll also learn how to easily wrap text on flattened background images, so be sure to watch until the end. Welcome, designer! My name is Rebecca, and I'm an instructor for Samford University Tech Training and the Graphic Design Department at UNLV. I also own Atomic Graphics, and I have over 25 years of industry experience. Now let's jump into Adobe Illustrator. So here I have this layout that is 2 columns of text. Over here I have a big shape that I created using my pen tool. It's like a retro kind of boomerang shape, and then behind it I have a really cute image. So a lot of times when we do an effect like this, we're going to create a clipping mask first so that we have an image inside of a shape. So I wanted to show you how to do that. Over here in our layers panel, you can see that I have my big black boomerang here right over my cute image that's hiding behind it right now. So I'm going to select both of these, and then I'll go up into the object menu along the top main navigation, and then we'll go down, way down to the bottom of that object menu and choose clipping mask and make. So now we have our image and it's in this boomerang shape, and now we can wrap this text around it. So using my selection tool, I'll just grab it and I'll slide it over here onto my document page. And you can see that in my layers panel, this layer is actually below my type layer. So I want to make sure that it is on top of the type layer. So I'll just grab it and click and drag and drop it right above the type layer. So now I will hold down my Shift button and click on that little circle in my layers panel to select my type layer and to select the clipping mask with my shape that we're going to be wrapping around. So in InDesign, it's really easy to wrap text around a shape. You can do it in your properties panel, but in Illustrator, it's a little more hidden. So let's go up into the object menu, and just like we did to find the clipping mask, right above that, it's called text wrap. You just choose the make option here and we'll click make. Then we're going to get this little window that comes up. It says text will wrap around all objects in the current selection, including type objects. You can choose don't show again if you like and hit OK. So now you can see that our text is wrapped around our image. Now you can click outside of the objects to deselect, and then you can click on the shape itself and move it around, and you'll see that your text moves around the whole shape. Go ahead and line it up where you think it looks good. And here's the pro tips. So we want to go through our text and make sure that we don't see any orphans, which are short words that are by themselves at the end of a paragraph on their own line. So any word that is 7 characters or less, including punctuation or spaces, is considered an orphan. This is technically 8 characters, so it's not an orphan. But if you wanted to fix that, if this is text that you wrote yourself, maybe for a school assignment or something along those lines, then you can just add a word in here or delete a word. Sometimes I'll delete some adjectives or add a new adjective to make it a little bit longer or shorter. The other option is if you're working with text that somebody else wrote for you, like a copywriter, then you wouldn't want to add or delete any text from there. So just select that paragraph and go to your properties panel, slide on down here to your tracking and just adjust your tracking here. So you can use this drop down menu. You can try -10 or -25. I wouldn't go any lower than -25. You can see it's pretty crammed together there. Or you can go the opposite direction and try to get another word to drop down onto that line below it. So if I give it a +10, that's going to spread out the text through the entire paragraph. And when I click off of it, you can see that it doesn't really look that different from the paragraphs around it. The next thing I'd like to show you as a third pro tip is to make sure that when you are using a ragged edged alignment, like this left alignment here, that you turn off your hyphenation. So I'm going to scroll on down to the paragraph section and click on these more options here. And right here, you'll see the hyphenate box. We're going to turn that off so that we have no hyphenation on a jagged edge. If we use any of these justified alignments options, which do look really nice, then absolutely by all means check the hyphenate box or you're going to get visual rivers throughout your text. One more thing when using text wrap, if we click on our shape that has been converted for text wrap and we go back up into the object menu And way back down to the bottom where it says text wrap, notice that there's a text wrap options button. So let's click on that text wrap options just to see what's available. So right now my offset, this little padding or margin around the edge of my text wrap image, is at 20 points, and you can change this manually or use those up and down arrows. And if you have your preview button on, you can see it update live over here. You can also choose this invert wrap option, which is kind of cool. So if you click on that, it'll pop all the text inside of there. Great. Something to look out for when you're using text wrap is when you place an object, just make sure that it doesn't do some strange things, especially if you're working with columns of text. So this can be very confusing for a reader to try to figure out where the eye should jump next. The text flow goes down this way in this first column, so the reader should go down this way, but they don't always know to do that, especially when the page is almost divided in half by this shape. Don't create little pockets like this of text when you're using text wrap. You want to close up those pockets so the reader doesn't have any confusion. Secondly, when using bullets, sometimes they can act a little bit strange. Just watch how the bullets act when they are along the side of text wrap. If they're acting strange, you can select the group of bullets and you can go in your properties panel, slide on down to the bullets and numbering, and click on that little down arrow there to bring up more options. Then click on these 3 ellipses to bring up more options. Once you choose one of these bullet characters, increase your left indent, and then you'll see that the bullets will line up much cleaner for you. Another thing to avoid when working with text wrap is don't break up your headers like this. We want those headers to stay together. We don't want any gaps between it. And the third thing to look out for, once again, are orphans like these, or widows. This is a widow right here. This is when you have one line of text from a paragraph that goes by itself, either in the beginning of a new column, the beginning or end of a new page, or in this case, jumping down below our image that's on our page. If you're finding value in this video, please click the thumbs up button. And if you'd like to learn more with me, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for continuing to watch. Now let's check out our bonus material. So if you have a flattened background like this one, this is an entire background image that's flat. I don't have any shapes, but I'd like this paragraph to kind of wrap around the skirt here. What we will do is use your pen tool, and I'll zoom in, and then I will just trace along the edge of the skirt. And if you're not comfortable with the pen tool, you can use it just like the polygonal lasso tool in Photoshop, where you just click and release to make little corner anchor points. And as you go along, just making a shape here, easy enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be close enough to the edge to create this wrap. Then I like to make it kind of wide so that the text won't break over and wrap around the object. And then I'll just close it up. So it looks a little weird right now. We can turn off the fill and stroke. So over here in my color panel, click on this no fill option for the stroke and for the fill. But we still have a path, and we can see it down here in our layers panel. I'll double click on my properties panel to collapse it, and you can see that my path is still selected. Because my path is on top of the paragraph that I want to wrap it on, we can just select both. If it's not on top, be sure to grab it and move it over there. Just like we did in the first example, we'll go over to the object menu, go down to text wrap, and choose make. And there you go. Now we have an invisible shape the text has wrapped around. So if your text is not really acting like you want it to, you can just select it and go into your properties panel and maybe change the size of your text, and then it works a little bit nicer for you. Now, if I'd like this text to also be wrapped, notice that it is going around the large shape that I made. So I can select that original shape. I'll click on the path here so I can see it. To make things easier for you while you're working, if you want to give the stroke a color, you can. So I'm just click on the stroke in my color panel and click on the black there so I can now see it. And then I'll use my direct selection tool, which is underneath the group selection tool in the tool panel. And I will make sure that nothing is selected. Click on one of those anchor points, and I'll just bring it up here like this, and then I can move this anchor point down, and now this other text is wrapping, as you can see. So I'll just move it, and if it's not working out the way I'd like it to, once again I can select that text, go into the properties panel, and change the size of it, rearrange it, and maybe even adjust the text frame that it's in until it looks like I need it to look. If you have your stroke visible on that shape, you just turn that shape invisible one more time, and there's our finished object. Wow, look what you did! You did 2 awesome text wrap effects in Adobe Illustrator. Way to go!